Hi everyone! Today I will be talking about my latest obsessions, the Hocoro Dip Pens. So I will talk about what they are, how to use them, and I will also talk a little bit about why I decided to buy them in the first place. And I will also do a flip through of my daily journal to show you how I've been using them over the last few weeks. And in case you're wondering what's on my hand, I went to a wedding recently, an Indian wedding, and they had a henna artist hired as part of their wedding activity, and I got myself a henna. Okay, so onward with what these dip pens are. So these are the Hocoro Dip Pens, and basically you can buy them as a whole package. Like you can buy the entire pen with the body and the nib, but you can also just buy the nib itself. So the nib itself is actually detachable, so you can technically just buy a body and all the different type of nibs that you want, and they sell all kinds of nibs. So over here I have a fine nib for fine line of writing, and I also have a 2mm nib, so you can write very bold letters. And lastly, there's a brush pen. You also put it on the body, and then you can dip it in ink, and it basically gives you a brush pen effect. And all of these are detachable. And specifically for the brush pen, you can also buy this syringe that specifically fits this brush pen nib, and you can use this syringe to just basically rinse this brush with water to get rid of the ink. To use them is very easy. You just dip them in ink. What's so good about these dip pens as opposed to other dip pens, when I was doing my research on what kind of dip pens to buy, is that these Hocoro dip pens come with this filler attachment. I don't know if you can see. So I have it in the fine nib and also in the 2mm nib. So what these does is it actually holds a lot more ink, and so when you dip them, it has a lot more ink in its reservoir, and you can write them for much longer. So based on my experience with this fine nib and the extra filler, I can dip this pen one time and write a full paragraph before I need to dip again. And the reason why I had to dip again is not that it ran out of ink, it's just the ink is noticeably paler, so I just dip them. But I think you can technically let this go for a full page. Of course, this thicker nib, the 2mm ones, I think it can only last a sentence. As for this brush pen, it doesn't have a filler, but this brush actually soaks up ink really well. Like, I don't think I've ever ran out of ink on this brush pen nib, but the color definitely goes from very intense to very pale rather quickly. I think in about 4 or 5 letters. So if you like to have the effect of intense to not intense, then you can just use this pen and keep writing forever. But if you want to keep it at the same intensity, I do think you have to re-dip this every few letter. So yeah, so these are the 3 dip pens that I have, and obviously there's also a lot more different nibs that I did not buy. I think there's a medium nib, there's a 1mm nib, which is probably basically the same as mine, but not as thick of a stroke. And there's also a fude nib that I've read up about, and it basically is a nib that is shaped in a way that depending on how you hold the pen, you can get thin or thick strokes just from one single pen. And I chose to not buy that because from what I read, it seems like it would be a pretty difficult nib to write with, and I got these 3 instead because the fine nib for writing, the thicker, the 2mm nib for bolding, and then a brush pen to write a brush pen style writing, and these are all I need. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with my purchase. To give a brief overview on why I decided to even buy these dip pens, is because I am a very new beginner to the fountain pen world. So these are the two fountain pens I currently own, the Platinum Preppy and the Pilot Kakuno. And these two, I guess if you just Google fountain pens for beginners, these two are the ones that usually show up the most. And they're also the cheapest that you can buy. I think the Preppy is probably under $10 and then the Kakuno is under $20. So they're very affordable. Basically, when I was thinking of getting into fountain pens, I bought these two beginner pens. I love them, but after getting these two pens, I've been told that the number one reason why anybody would want to get into the fountain pen hobby is that they can ink them up with all kinds of inks. So you're not limited to the standard black, blue, red. You can get all kinds of shiny inks, shimmering inks, or inks of a color that you've never expected to see would come out of a pen. So I decided to explore my ink options a little more. I was a little afraid to just buy a full ink bottle, so that's when I went to a store called Vanness and ordered 15 different ink sample bottles. So they're all inks, but in these small 4 milliliters sample bottles. And so I was very excited to try these inks in my fountain pens. So I so far have these two inked up in my fountain pens, the Pilot Iroshizuku Yamabudo ink and the Robert Oster Fire and Ice ink. So these two ink I've marked that I've tried these two inks before. I inked them up in my pen and I really like them. The downside is that it takes me more than a month to go through the ink once I've inked up my pen with one of these ink. It takes me more than a month to use it up for me to go on to another ink. And yeah, so after a month or two of me trying these inks out one by one slowly, I got a little impatient because I have 15 inks, right, to try. And I just want to be able to just try all of them right now. Like, I was very impatient. I want to see how this ink looks like on my paper, and which is why I decided to look into dip pens. So these are pens that you dip into and get ink onto, and you can wash them off very easily and just try another ink very quickly. And so it worked really well. So I can show you all how all these inks looks like now. So this is my plotter, my ring binder, planner, and I have a folder that is the references folder, and I can show you all my inks now. So I have 3 Diamine inks. They're very beautiful. The Dark Forest and Brightest Blood is very beautiful. And I have 3 inks from Pilot Iroshizuku, and I really liked Yamabudo when it is on. I have it inked up in my Kakuno. I really liked it. The Sailor is not bad, but I absolutely hate the Fuyugaki. Unfortunately, it's very bright. And then I have 3 Vinta inks, and I really like them as well. I think they are very unique. I've never seen inks like this before. They seem to, I don't know if my camera is able to capture it, but they seem to have like a different color effects based on how inked up they are. So the bolder strokes versus the thinner strokes look different. I really like that. I have 3 Robert Oster inks, Fire and Ice, which I have it inked in my Preppy right now. Sydney, Darling Harbour, and Summerstorm. I also really like these color. They also give off the similar gradient effect that I mentioned in the Vinta inks. And then lastly, I have 3 KWZ inks. These are actually my least favorite inks because they are just they look so normal to me. So I don't hate them. I just don't love them as much as I love these Robert Oster inks and these Vinta inks. Yeah, so with my dip pens, I was able to see what the inks that I bought looked like, and finally be able to satiate my my curiosity. These pens are also not just good for testing these inks out, but I've also been using them to journal recently as well. So I usually journal with my fountain pens or my Jetstream gel pen, but I've found out that that I really love some of these ink samples that I have, and I just want to use them in my daily journal without having to wash off the inks that are currently in my fountain pens. And so that's why I've also been using these pens for my daily journaling. So I wanted to show you a little on how I've been using them, using these dip pens over the last few weeks in my Midori Hibino, which is my daily journal. So just to give a brief overview, the Midori Hibino has a 2-page a day kind of layout. That's basically what I do. I try to write 2 pages a day. And so July 7 was the day that I first got my dip pens, and I tried out a ink that I've never tried before, and I was really happy. And then so every single day I've just been trying out a different ink, and also you can tell that like the bolded words, they are done with the thicker 2mm nibs, and then the regular words are done with the fine nib. And then this is the bright orange ink that I talked about not liking. And then this is a beautiful ink. Back to the bright orange ink. And then this is a Vinta ink it looks really beautiful close up. While dipping, I often make mistakes like these, like I will accidentally drip ink blots on my paper. And the good thing about having beautiful inks is that I'll drip it and I'll be like, this actually looks really beautiful. Like I don't mind this drip at all. And this is where this is done with my brush pen. So you can see how, like, as I'm writing, it gets lighter and lighter. I mean the color intensity gets lesser. So yeah, I really like how it looks too, because you can see like a gradient as the sentence continues. Oh, and then obviously some days I don't feel like journaling, so I just paste photos instead. Oh, and this is another Vinta ink that I wrote with my brush pen, and yeah, I really love it. I think I had to write over the first letter 2 times because of how light this ink is, but otherwise it's very beautiful. I really like how it looks on the brush pen, especially. Not so much the regular fine nib pen, because I can barely read it. And this day I decided to try 3 different inks, all in one journal entry. So I basically dip, write, and then wash it off, dip, write, wash it off. So that was pretty fun as well. And then another day of using both the brush pen and the fine nib. The brush pen is really good for taking up space if you don't actually want to write that much. So I've been liking that as well. And the bullet pen is also something I use to really have like a thesis statement of my journal entry, so that when I flip, I can be like, oh, this is the moral of the day, what I've learned on today. And also it takes up space, so I have less writing to do. So every day I've just been using a different ink. And yeah, this ink is a beautiful green. I think this is Diamine. No, the Robert Oster, I think. Maybe I should write down like what inks are each of them. Some of them are very recognizable, like I know for sure this is a Vinta ink. But sometimes I'm not too sure, so maybe I should write that down. So these are how I've been using my the inks, using my dip pen, and I'm able to just sort of change inks every single day without worrying about cleaning out my fountain pens. Obviously, a lot of other journal people I know on YouTube, they just have a whole library of fountain pen, and each of them are inked up with a different color, and that's how they can achieve a different color of ink every day. But I only have 2, and I don't foresee myself buying more anytime soon. So yeah, these dip pens are a good alternative, and I'm able to test all of my inks out. You know, after just a few weeks of testing, I already have like a few favorite inks that I do think I want to buy a full bottle of, or a favorite brand that I want to try more of their inks of. There are also other ink brands that I want to add to my collection. So, oh, by the way, this ink tray thing, this ink sample tray thing, I bought it from Amazon. I don't know, if you just look for a vial holder or something like this, you can just buy them. They're really cheap. And I'm hoping to just fill all this up with branded inks I want to test. Pretty happy with my purchase, and I'm very happy that I get to try different inks every day. So now I will end off my video by using one of my ink and writing my journal entry for the day. Alright, time to get on to today. So today is August 11th. Oh dear, I dripped so much on the paper. This is the aftermath of trying to use my dip pen. I have a paper towel that's full of the residual inks. My hand is also full of ink, but they'll come off. And yeah, so I'm done with my journal entry, and I will go change water one more time and rinse it basically a few more times, and then it's done. It's clean. I can reuse them with a different ink tomorrow. So this is how easy it is to use the dip pens. I hope this video has been informative, and thank you for watching. Bye!